All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. Things are getting better, sort of, with the pandemic, but I'm still in my basement on the internet interviewing people, which I think is going to be the plan for the foreseeable future. And the guest on this show is someone that I wanted to have on the show for a long time. If you are a really good listener to this show, and you're probably not, you may have heard an episode we did back in, I think it was 2014, with a member of this guest's band. So I think that doing a follow-up in the current format of the show is something I'd wanted to do for quite a while. And I think before we get into anything, if you want to just introduce yourself and maybe give a bit of background about what you've done in the music scene here locally.
Okay, well, my name's Todd Kowalski. I play in Propagandhi. I played in Swallowing Shit before, and before that, I Spy. And then kind of between that, a band called Last Man on Earth with Chris from Propagandhi and James from I Spy.
Oh, cool.
And then before that, me and Simon Hughes and Chris in a band called the Flying Randys. And then I think that's about it here.
Well, I think that's enough. I think even just Propagandhi and I Spy alone is like a pretty big body of work that's got, I think, a lot of it definitely has a reputation within Winnipeg and the prairies and beyond, right? So you've been involved in a lot of stuff for sure. I have a lot of things I want to ask you about Propagandhi, and I guess the first thing is, this is kind of maybe a weird question for you because I know you didn't play on the record, but 25th anniversary this year of the band's second album happened, and that was sort of, for me, that was my entry point. I was a teenager when that came out, and I heard that and then realized it was a local band, and it was just a huge, for a lot of people, I think, my age, a huge moment of hearing something, especially that had, political views and values and things that reflected my own, and hearing that in music was new, I guess, at that age. And again, I know you didn't play on that record, but one of the things that sort of struck me on re-listening to it is how many of the topics that are discussed and the issues that are covered haven't changed at all. Like, and in some cases, it almost seems like they've gotten worse in the 2 decades and a half since then. I mean, as a member of a band that clearly cares about the content you're putting out there and the issues you're talking about and the subject matter, what does it feel like to realize that, everything you've been sort of arguing for through your music for this long, in a lot of cases, nothing's gotten better? And obviously you hope it does, right? And I know, again, you weren't on that record, but just the general idea of all these issues, and it kind of seems like we're in 2021 now, when, at least in my idealistic teenager phase, listening to that record, I thought, okay, this is great. Someone's talking about this now. Maybe by the time I'm 40, things will have gotten better, but it seems like it's almost the opposite.
Yeah, it's I think it was almost predictable the way things were going, but
yeah,
always still disappointing,
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
as you get older, you realize less and less that you're gonna see any positive change in your lifetime, especially as things get worse. But I think the thing that has changed most positively is stuff to do with like LGBTQ and
For
stuff,
sure.
like from the 80s, and then it started changing in the 90s, I think, but from the 80s till now is a complete difference.
Yeah, that is an area that's changed for sure.
Yeah, I would say that, and maybe now people sort of waking up to the environmental issues, but it's actually like people are kind of waking up, but it's possibly too late. And also, like, even though people are waking up every year, like, humans emit more and more, and it's worse than last year. So like, we're kind of pretending to wake up, but not really,
Yeah, in small increments and maybe not enough. Yeah. Does that affect sort of the writing that the band does? Just knowing that all of these songs, all these issues on these causes that you've fought for so long are still unresolved. Does that create like a sense of I'm not sure. Is there more anger towards sort of the society that hasn't gone through with other than the LGBT issues and things like that? But I mean, the animal rights stuff, the environmental stuff, a lot of these topics, racism, are just like seem stalled. Does that fuel sort of more frustration as songwriters when you're talking about big issues like this?
Yeah, I guess it's harder to write the songs now a little bit, because like what's on our mind is exactly the same, but we've already wrote so many songs about it, like,
Yeah.
I find in my mind when I'm playing my guitar, I keep having the same thought, like it's always the same. It's like in the world, like unless you're picking specific issues, like the only real issue is to how to make humans have more compassion for each other and try to make the world better.
Yeah.
Like that's really the only point of our band, is to try to like touch some kind of emotional thing that might make you think about something. Like we're not politicians, we're musicians and artists, and we like that's our goal. So yeah, it just becomes more and more difficult, especially as you start to feel just a little older and you almost don't believe that anything's going to get better, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's just speaking for me. I don't know how Chris and George feel, but
oh, for sure, for sure. Does it? It seems to me like, well, first of all, one thing that I like about Propaganda is that I've been listening, like I said, since I was about, I don't know, 14, and I'm almost 40 now, so it's a long time. And it
yeah,
seems like every album you get better, which is like the reverse trajectory of most bands. Like a lot of bands, when they're 4, 5, 6 albums in, they kind of get stagnant. But you seem to be getting um, more aggressive, faster, heavier. The songwriting seems to have more nuance. I think that
yeah,
those songs in the early records where it's more kind of beating you over the head with the topic and the ideas, but now some of these songs they seem very personal. They seem very uh it just almost seems like there's a different thinking that goes into writing on the last few records. Is that accurate?
I think so. I I think our thing is to just keep trying to challenge ourselves, like even with our ideas and music for sure. Like in the last year since this COVID, like uh, Chris and I have played, like just practiced so hard.
Yeah.
Like we've been jamming. I can tell we're both like way better than we were like before COVID. So it's, I don't know. Like I kind of find like maybe I've said this before, but like you wouldn't expect like a painter who's 20 to have painted their best painting, you know?
Yeah.
They keep moving, and then when you're like 40 or 60, maybe you start picking up steam and start making a couple good paintings. And I kind of feel the same with music. Like, sure, I appreciate Old I Spy and Propagandhi for what it is, but like it is what it is. Like I don't really have like massive nostalgia for it, or especially I don't want to recreate it, or
Yeah.
like it's the past. I don't really feel that way. Like, you know what I mean? I just want to like move forward. I don't have any desire to live in the past. Like we'll play old songs for people just kind of to see them happy here,
Yeah.
here and there. It's almost like doing something for somebody else, like giving them a gift of some kind or a birthday present for your mom or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're happy to do it, but it's not, you know what I mean? It's not for you, it's for them more.
Do you think that sonically this is kind of the natural trajectory for the band? Because I mean, I know that stuff like thrash and heavier music has always been sort of there in the background. From every interview I've read or heard with any of you guys, right? That it seems like just going this route. Is it the organic way the band sort of unfolded, or is it like something you're doing on purpose to try and bring some of those influences more to the front? Obviously, you haven't been doing that kind of 90s skate punk stuff in a long time.
Yeah.
That's that nostalgia thing you're talking about. But it just seems more technical, maybe, is the better word for it. It seems like a lot of the songs are more complex. And is that just a natural kind of progression of how the band has unfolded, or is it something you're specifically aiming for?
I think around Empires, we were trying to become way better and move more stuff into the songs. And after that point, I think it was just like naturally, like just sitting around playing guitar until
Yeah.
something is of interest, or playing guitar and singing until something captures your imagination. Uh, yeah, I think it's always been that way. It's just before we didn't have the like as many tools at our disposal.
Sure. Yeah.
You start collecting tools until you just keep trying to head for what you're going for.
You mentioned earlier, about jamming during this COVID situation we're all sort of stuck in, and I managed to get a ticket to your show at the park, which is great because
Oh, right on.
I've had years of complaining about not being able to get tickets to like every show, over the past 20 years because they sell out in minutes, which is awesome, right? But what has that been like, as a band that obviously you tour a lot? A big part of your career as a musician is playing live and touring. What has that been like, having this kind of enforced time off where that's just out of the question?
For me, I'm like kind of happy doing whatever I'm doing. Like I try not to, like I don't want to sit there and brood and waste my life wishing I
Yeah,
was on tour when I'm not. But it's fun. Like we just got back to jamming and just getting ready, and I just really like standing there listening to Chris and Jord play and just playing my bass and hanging out with those guys. And yeah, so it's been fun. And just playing, like it's been a while since we played like some of the songs, and we usually play all new ones and stuff first. We don't add in the old ones till way later.
yeah, yeah.
And then so we're just playing songs we really like and just having fun.
Cool.
It's nice to stand in there and just feel the power of the tunes. And like I can tell we practice hard, so it just sounds tight and powerful.
Well, and I guess a lot of it's muscle memory too at this point, right? Even with time off, you still have played those songs so many times, and you've played together for so many years that I'm sure it just at some point just locks in, like riding a bike, kind of, eh?
Yeah, it took this time because it was so long and we started playing like the harder songs first. It actually took me a while. Like I practiced like for a few days before we started jamming, and yeah, it was just like I'd almost more than I would have thought kind of forgot how to play some stuff, but that's good because then it made it a little more fun. And then
Yeah.
we started playing like like a couple songs we hadn't played since we recorded the record, like that Flagrante Delicto,
Oh, cool.
whatever that is. And yeah, it's really fun to play. And I
Yeah.
could tell, like I could just feel an improvement in us. So I was kind of happy. I thought, oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. It's cool that it paid off sitting there. Like me and Chris, we both sit there with metronomes, just picking and picking like on the strings, for hours every day, just trying to get our hands going. Yeah.
Yeah. What does it? I mean, I know you've been on that show, and actually everyone from your band has been. But there's the Propagandhi podcast, which is
Yeah.
analyzing doing those deep dives into literally every one of the songs. I've kind of befriended those guys online. I've listened to all their shows.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really really great show. What is that like for you as a musician and as a songwriter to sort of hear someone completely dissect for 3.5 hours something that you worked on? I mean, it's got to be kind of like a cool thing to hear that someone is that interested in your work that they want to completely take it apart and figure out what it's about. But is it weird to hear other people kind of discussing what you wrote, especially if it's something that you wrote years ago?
Yeah, I kind of like when I'm at home try to not think about myself or whatever too much
Yeah.
in that way. So it's like I kind of tune in for particular episodes, like when the guys from Sacrifice were on,
Yeah.
or the one with Derek Riel, my friend. Yeah, I just like I think it's really cool. I feel like just like sometimes I just be a little distance from it, just like let it do
Yeah.
its thing, like so I don't feel any like desire to like, you know what I mean? Or like if people are getting stuff wrong, like just let it live for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not trying to get too involved or anything, just like but like when I listen to it, like I listened to the one with Derek Riel the other day, and yeah, I was saying to Chris and Jord, like it's not very often you get to hear your friend saying nice things about you in that
Yeah.
way. Like usually it would be like at your funeral or something. So it's like, yeah, it's really nice that it exists and that they're doing it.
Yeah. Do you get? I assume. I mean, this because I think this describes everyone I know who is a Propagandhi fan. But do you feel that the music you make as a band kind of lends itself to that sort of almost nerdiness about it because there's so much to unpack in each song, whether it's figuring out what the references are, or doing research. I mean, a lot of the records have, like Today's Empires has that big booklet of this massive document that comes with the LP that you can, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
do you think that your audience is maybe people who are willing to sort of devote more time to thinking about what's in the song rather than just, it is this cool and I want to, headbang to it?
It seems like it, yeah, it's hard to say, like our, yeah, it's kind of odd. Like we always feel a little bit like the scenes and bands we're lumped into isn't really what we listen to or anything,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting too. Sometimes I think, like that we even probably don't listen to much of the same music as the people who listen to us, which is kind of interesting in a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, we're happy anyone who's listening to it, we dig it, and the more that they're feeling it and looking into what we're trying to get at, like that's what you want as an artist, right? To
Sure.
move somebody, like you don't, like you could go paint a picture where everything's all just 100% right with no feeling, and it's, it's whatever. But if you see it and it's like totally moving you for whatever reason, it's like a completely different experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to get at, I think.
I think I may have asked Chris this when he was on my show a million years ago, but one of my favorite things that I've seen online, I mean, there's so much live footage of you guys online from various cities around the world. And I think it was in Australia, there's a show and you're playing Dear Coach's Corner, and the crowd is singing along with every word, the whole crowd. And I love watching that because I can't imagine many people in the Australian crowd have any idea what Coach's Corner is or who Don
Right.
Cherry is. And so I know that, like, this is the same with every band where once your song is out in the world, people will, it's open to, it becomes the audience's song, right? They can interpret it however they want. They like what they want out of it. But what is that like, being on stage, knowing that you're talking about, maybe not that song particularly, but you're talking about very specific issues in the songs. I mean, you're talking about subject matter that isn't just generic, right? And then you have people who maybe know nothing about it, they know every word and they're singing along. Does that kind of give you hope that they're gonna maybe dig deeper, when they're at home with the record or something? Or are you okay with the fact that maybe they just love the song so much that they'll sing along and not go that extra step to actually learn what it's talking about?
I think either way is fine, like we just do our thing, and
Yeah.
however you want to take it is how you take it,
Yeah. Okay.
I do kind of feel like happy when I see people singing along for the fact that like we didn't build our songs as sing-alongs to pander,
Yeah.
Like I like that people like listen to the songs, and even though some of the songs aren't really sing-along type songs, like people are singing along, which kind of really makes me kind of feel like it's nice that you can do that without like sitting down and going like pandering to them,
Yeah.
like you're dumb, this is elementary school and we're all gonna sing row your boat ashore or whatever,
Yeah. You don't need to specifically write the hook for people to actually be wanting to sing along anyway. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What is one thing I wanted to ask you about as well is I've noticed just following you on social media is you're obviously a visual artist as well, in addition to the music side of things.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that for? 'Cause some of those the art you're doing is fantastic.
Oh, thanks. I don't know, I kind of was doing it ever since I was a little kid, and then at some point, like maybe like 8 or so years ago, I was just like picked up the pace, I was like, well, like I just knew I wouldn't get good unless I tried really hard. So
Cool.
just like music, like I kind of realized like you can have like an idea for a song or music, but like to make it happen and turn out roughly the way you want is a lot of effort, like especially if you want it to be on like for real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to say it, like if your goal isn't like to like just like if you want it like to compete, like, well, how's the best I can try to compete with like sonically with like your heroes,
right?
Like how do we get as good as our heroes? And when you realize how much work it is, it's like, okay, that's the same for art. That's the same for absolutely everything. Like nothing comes easy. So yeah.
Yeah. Is it a different creative process for you? Like, do you feel like you're using a different part of your brain to create visual stuff versus music?
It is and it isn't. Like I kind of go back and forth all day from like music to drawing, music to drawing, you know? And it kind of like weaves itself together a little bit because you start seeing like print like I start thinking about the principles while I'm drawing, and then
Yeah.
you know like if you're drawing or whatever, like you have your simple statement or the simple like layout or composition, and if it's not solid, like there's nothing you can do to like decorate it and make it turn out good, you know?
Right.
Like
Right.
you can't just keep adding stuff and have it turn out well, you know? Like the initial thing has to be like solid. So I think through painting I started to realize more and more like that the initial thing without any dressing should be as solid as possible, like the simple statement. And I think that's why like some bands are super successful, is just like it's a simple statement. And like some bands, like the simple statement's so strong they can almost stop there, you know?
Yeah. 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 For
And
sure.
you know, and I mean, and I don't mean like shitty bands that can't play and their songs are simple. I mean like I don't know what I mean, but like I don't mean like you make a simple song that sucks and it's
Yeah.
simple. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I mean like something good. And also like the longer you draw, the simpler your drawing can be because it's more right earlier, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And I
You're not trying to
think,
fix it later on. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I think the same with music, you know? Like the more right it can be before you even show the other people the song, the better off you are, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you're not dressing it up too much. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
one of the things that's come up on this show a lot, and I've been doing it for a while now. I've been doing people from like age 18 to 70, and all different genres of music. And kind of a frequent topic that comes up is the idea that people in Winnipeg and Manitoba, and I think the prairies in general, we have really good bullshit detectors. And I think with anything creative, it definitely seems like people here can see right through it if it's not genuine and if it's not honest. And I think that might apply to what you're talking about as well, where the basic idea, the raw materials behind it are genuinely coming from the person creating it, and you can see that, and that sort of will you can't doll something up and get that to happen, right? Like it has to be there in the beginning.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
And yeah, you just want to just do your thing and say who you are, you know?
yeah,
Like we're kind of labeled as a political band, but really it's like, in a way it's not. It's like like we're literally saying, here's what I feel about this.
yeah,
You know, like it moves us as much as like a love song would move Tony Bennett or what, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Like here's like all our songs are like love songs to animals or to whatever or this or to,
yeah,
you know, like that's the way I think about it. Like at some point, like I remember a long time ago seeing like reviews of I Spy and Propagandhi where they're like all calling it political and blah blah blah, you know, and then in contrast, like almost saying like people doing kind of like love songs and stuff is more heartfelt and blah blah
right.
blah. But to me, it's like like maybe you just don't feel the same things as us, and that's fine. But like we're feeling this, like that's, you know, like
Yeah, that
you can
genuineness comes through. I
yeah
mean, you guys are saying about animal rights, and you can that's there. Like it is, you can't. You're not just saying it because you want to throw a couple slogans out there. Like the songs
yeah
are well written enough and well thought out enough that it's obvious that this is an important topic. Yeah,
yeah, like those songs are like born out of like maybe holding your kitty and looking at their eyes and their hair and their little hands and whatever,
yeah,
you know, and you're like, you know, like how can people hurt these guys, and you know, that kind of thing. And
yeah.
yeah, I think that's yeah
Well, for sure. Yeah. I mean, like one of the reasons I got into propaganda in the first place is I was raised vegetarian, so I've never had meat. And for me,
Right.
as a teenager, when all my friends thought it was ridiculous and they try to hide meat in my food and stuff, and like to hear a band that was, especially when Less Talk came out and there's that, big animal friendly on the logo, and just to have it hearing that for the first time was kind of like, wow, this is something that I care a lot about, and to hear someone I'm listening to actually address it at all. And I think that maybe that kind of, like you mentioned earlier, you said the word compassion for everybody, right? I think that that maybe is what that's obviously what attracts people to your music, is that in whatever topic you're covering, they feel that connection with that idea and that those values, right?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. And some people clearly don't,
Yeah,
We
yeah,
get messages like, you guys still whatever, you guys still on that thing, or have you grown up?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't want to grow up from those thoughts.
for sure. Yeah, yeah,
Like, like, yeah, I don't, like, I've grown up from as many stupid thoughts as I can,
yeah.
but I don't want to grow up from those compassionate impulses to being just someone who's investing and waiting to, you know, go to Maui for the winter and die.
Yeah, yeah,
Like hoarding and dying.
yeah, and dying with, then you can't take any of it anywhere anyway. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have I mean, obviously, the world is going to be what it is, but do you have hope that younger people are maybe going to be more open to these kind of compassionate ideas? Because it seems, just, I mean, I have kids, they're young enough now, but they definitely seem to be at their age more kind of the idea of loving everyone, and regardless of where they're from or what they look like or what their background is or religion or race or anything. It just seems like it's inborn in them. Like they just show up on earth with this idea that everyone should be awesome and you can hang out and everyone should be friends. And I kind of think that, I hope anyway, that seeing them practicing that stuff in real life, I have this hope that maybe is going to be dashed in 20 years or so, when the world stays shitty. But I don't know. Do you have any kind of like positive kind of hope for the future, or do you think that these kind of issues are going to be fought sort of on some level forever?
Yeah, I hope that kind of when the generation like mine and the one above
Yeah,
is like over, I hope the next generation's a little better. But I guess, like, there's going to be so many kids raised by also the people who are like, there's going to be kids raised with no sense of compassion, and that
sure.
compassion is terrible and bad. And uh, so all those people will be there. And if the world gets worse and things heat up and things become more scarce and
Yeah,
competitive and brutal, like, yeah, people can lose their dreams pretty quick and become bitter. And
yeah.
so I don't know what to I don't.
Yeah, I know. I don't think there's an answer for it. I just have this, like, this hope that things are gonna improve, and I think that listening to bands like yours, where despite the kind of heavy messages and heavy things you're talking about, I think there is some hope in there. Otherwise, I don't think you'd still be doing this at this level anyway. So many years later, right?
Yeah, there's some old, like, Russian poem uh that I kind of know from like more cheaper means from a Man Lifting Banner record. But
Okay.
it's yeah, it says, if I forget that the seed that lies beneath the snow will someday rise, bury me tight. And I kind of think like that, like, at some point when I was young, I kind of promised myself, like not to give in. So, like, very often I'm like mentally, like, kind of beaten down, from, like, because I also like we're getting all the messages on Propagandhi and seeing the message. It's just, there's so much.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, just like, the things people are asking from you are just like too much, and things people are saying become too much. Like, you just start losing hope. But it's, yeah, then when I do, I just like just remember, like when I feel like just going off into the forest for the rest of my life and just painting and ignoring society.
Yeah.
Like, I always remind myself, like, no, that's what I promised myself not to do.
just stick with it and be, I guess, be part of whatever solution there is to improve
Yeah,
things, I guess, right? Yeah.
and keep trying. Well, like whether you believe things can change or not doesn't matter as long as you keep trying, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. For
It's,
sure. Yeah.
it's like it doesn't matter what you yeah, what the outcome is if you quit, you lost.
Right. Right. And if the things you're fighting for are important enough, it doesn't make any sense to quit because
Yeah,
you want to see things improve, even if you're convinced they're not going to, right? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What I know, like I said before, I mean, you're playing at the Park Theater in October, which is very exciting. And you have that Western Canadian tour. What's sort of happening with the band after that? Do you have new material that's going to be coming out at some point in the foreseeable future?
Well, in November, there's like we remixed and remastered Empires,
Oh, cool.
and it sounds like people always say this, but this sounds so much better. It sounds like a 10 times better record.
Cool.
Like none of us were interested in that record at all. Like, you know, and then Chris was like, we should just like hear how this sounds and see if we want to remix it, you know?
Yeah.
And we sent it to Jason Livermore, who does our other records, the mixing, and he remixed it and it came back like kind of like perked our ear up. And then we sent like can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And he thought about it over the weekend. Like he really works hard on our stuff. Like he takes our stuff home and like I think he might genuinely like it. It kind of works. And then like he yeah, when he came back with like his new little skeleton for what he was doing, we were like, okay, this songs actually kind of rock, you know? Whereas before they were just kind of like, just kind of felt like they didn't in a way, you know, to us.
Sure.
And because we knew what we were trying to do and what we went into the studio to do. And I remember being in the studio feeling it slip away on us. It's like, how is this slipping away? Like we recorded pretty well, you know?
Yeah.
And by the time it was out, we were just like depressed. Like we went back 3 times trying to fix it. And every time, like it wasn't being fixed. And yeah, it cost us a fortune, but we couldn't give up. We even redid the guitars and
Wow.
yeah, I don't even know if they got in. Like they were still disappointing to us after. Yeah, but then when yeah, we got it. And it's like when you can now hear how awesome Jord played and all this, it's like, yeah, this is rocking. So we're stoked about that. And then me and Chris are like have been making songs on our own and yeah, we just have to get together and I'm pretty excited about what we're gonna do. I think it's
Cool.
gonna be rad. So
Cool. With Empires, is it just a matter of sort of getting new ears on it? And because you've lived with these songs for what that's album's like 20 years old now, right?
yeah.
Is it just someone else sort of taking a look at it and then seeing what could be kind of tweaked on it, or what worked so well about what he did to it?
I think he just went back, like he went just back right to the raw tracks without even listening to the other one.
Okay. Okay.
You know, it's just like, how would I do this? And yeah, just, and then we have our, you know, turn this up, turn that down, and, you know, don't do this, please.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, just keep it natural, you know, whatever, this and that, turn up the vocals, crank the bass,
Yeah.
you know, all that kind of crap. And then, yeah, it just ended up good. We were just happy. Just like I was listening to it, just like and I never listened to it. Like the last time I sat down and listened to it was probably when it came out.
Yeah.
So like things that yeah, especially songs like COINTELPRO.
Yeah. Yeah.
That song. Yeah, it's just like it's just so much better. It's unbelievable.
That's funny because I was listening to that album today, like, and I was thinking about how much I really like how great it sounds. But it's very cool to hear that
Oh, good.
it's. I mean, you've even improved it more, and I guess obviously that's going to happen with anyone's music, right? You've created it and been involved with it and lived with it for so long that yeah, it's going to sound different to you than it is to the regular fan on the street, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah. And there is a chance that like if people are so used to the other one and they like it so much, there's a chance they might like the other one better, you know, because
Right.
they're so used to it. Like when the first Youth of Today tape in the 80s, like it was recorded so badly, it sounded like literal cardboard boxes,
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
you could hear the distortion. Like to me, as a kid, when I heard it, because I was like a metal fan kid, like I heard it, I was like, this band is terrible. It's unreal terrible. But I got used to it and loved it. You know, like pretty soon I loved it.
yeah,
And then like they remixed it sometime in the 90s, and I heard it, it was like so disappointing. Like even though it sounded twice as good,
yeah,
like I wanted the cardboard boxes and distorted mics and the shittiness, you know. Like
yeah, for sure.
that's what made the record sound crazy, you know. But I think Empires is different because like because the naturalness was actually taken away before in the mixing, you know. Like the guitars got kind of like zzz, you know, all that, and the kick drum got like kind of disappeared, and you know, like the bass sounded good. I really like how the bass sounded. So that
Yeah,
was kind of the lucky twist of that record. Like I could always listen to it and be like, okay, the bass sounds awesome.
yeah. Well, and that's
But
a good one for your first record with the band too, right? Like it's kind of a good good one to
yeah,
have is when the
yeah,
bass sounds awesome. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I was kind of, so that's the one, that was the one thing that probably made me feel maybe a little better about Empires than Chris and George did, because my particular instrument sounded better,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But now it's like, I think especially the drums, it's just like, okay, George played really killer on that record.
Well, I know you mentioned. Well, I mean, he plays really killer on every record, I think. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited to hear that. But you know, one thing you mentioned earlier is about kind of not being so into the nostalgia thing, which I totally understand. But I feel like you're at the point now as a band where all of these milestones are coming up, right? So people are almost
Yeah.
expecting nostalgia from you. They want to hear,
Yeah.
you know, the anniversary of whichever album, right? So is it like, do you feel sort of obligated to go back and do these things, or you just do them when it feels like the right thing to do? Like, is this happening because of an anniversary, this Empires thing, or is it just, hey,
No,
let's
it's
just do this
just,
again?
I think it's always been brewing in Chris's mind, like
Yeah,
probably ever since we came back from our third try, you know. I think he's kind of I'd say a true perfectionist,
yeah,
in the way of like it's hard to let things go, you know, even if it's old like that. So I think he's probably stewing on it, and was like, he asked, and you know, people are gonna say, oh, you did it to try to make money, but like we'll actually probably not get royalties from Empires anymore because it costs us so much to do this, you know?
right, right.
Like if we got it like totally remixed and mastered, you know, like a record that everyone's heard already. So
Yeah, yeah. But
yeah,
that's the right way. That's the right reason to do it, I think. Right? Is because if you're doing it for a cash grab, then it's not going to probably be as good as you really want it to be, because it's the band's not going to care about it to the same
yeah,
level, right? Yeah. So that's
and
cool.
yeah, and like we're kind of crazy, so like it's like you know, if it's almost good but it's going to cost more to get like just another round of mixing, you know, just
Yeah,
one more round, you know. It's like,
yeah,
okay, let's put all our money in and get one more round, let's see if we can make it even better, you know.
yeah,
Who
for
cares,
sure.
fuck it, you know.
So
So
before I let you go, this is maybe a weird question for you because of the kind of the profile that your band has, but usually I end these shows by asking the guest, because a lot of them are just bands, you know, basement bands or bands that are kind of mid-level of success locally and things like that. And I ask them sort of, you know, what's the best way to hear the music? I think that your music is widely available enough that that's not maybe an issue, but also what's kind of a good entry point, do you think, for someone who, you know, maybe hasn't actually heard the band before, or is just getting into you? Because there's a big catalog, and there's a lot of different, the sound's changed a lot over the years. Do you
yeah,
have sort of a favorite place to point people to, as like, this is kind of, if you want to get into Propagandhi, this is sort of the entry point of choice? Or are you just sort of open to whatever album people want to dig into?
I would say any of the last three I would probably start with. And then, yeah, for me, it's just like beyond there, as you go back, they just get like, I guess just less good, I guess. Or
Yeah,
not less good, but less something I'm interested in, you know,
sure,
or that
sure.
you're interested in. I think I can speak for Chris too.
Yeah,
And like, don't get me wrong, like when, you know, like I was Propagandhi fan from the demos, you know, so
Yeah.
it's not like I don't appreciate or don't like that stuff. I just feel like times moved on, and you know, I feel like we're legitimately better.
Yeah,
I
I
can
think you are too.
like
Yeah.
if I play old songs versus new songs, how do these make me feel? You know, and it's not out of boredom. It's just like I just feel like the new ones are blowing the other ones away, you know?
Yeah.